Hi folks, how are you doing? The round number 9 in the candidates tournament is over, and we still have Vishy Anand leading the standings. And this is, I think, the most interesting game of the round, the one between two Russian GMs, Kramnik as white and Peter Svidler with black pieces. Let's see what happened. Kramnik starts with d4, and once again, for the second time in the tournament, Svidler surprises with a5, the exciting Dutch defense. Now you know Svidler's main, almost religious defense against d4 is the Grunfeld, but sometimes he's been trying some other things, and this year in this candidate, this is the second time he plays the Dutch. In the other game against Mamedyarov, well, he got a good position out of the opening. Unfortunately for him, he blundered a couple of times and ended up losing that game, but never mind, he tries it again. Knight f3, knight f6, and, well, e3. Not very common, of course, and if you didn't know who was playing the game, you maybe could bet this was an amateur player, just wanting to play very shy and not very ambitious, but okay. Nothing really wrong with this move, but it's just a move to get out of the most common theory and play the game, I guess. But it doesn't seem very ambitious. In fact, Svidler said he had looked at this as well. Is a possible move e3, and he played b6. He thought later that she should have maybe started with e6 and if then play b6, but well, b6 he played on the spot. And well, here really we have very uncommon paths in the theory. Really almost a new position. Kramnik plays d5, already should be a novelty. Well, it makes sense to move even for further the pawn to block the bishop, which was eventually going to go to b7. Still, Svidler plays bishop b7, and here, well, Kramnik plays bishop c4, defending the pawn. There were other options. For instance, c4 seems natural, and well, as Svidler himself commented in the press conference later, he would probably play e6 as d takes, and the queen exchange. This endgame, as Peter said, is pleasant for black. There is nothing wrong here. The other possibility is, once again, Svidler, you know, he's a very interesting player to watch in the press conferences. He talks a lot and very sensibly. He mentioned that after knight c3, c6, d6 was a possibility. So they discussed this variation a little with Kramnik. It was another, well, strange position arising. But okay, finally bishop c4. Let us see what happened in the game. Svidler immediately plays c6. He has to try to liberate his bishop, but and attack this pawn on d5. Knight c3. Really nothing really that great that white can go. He cannot play e4, defending it with another pawn. So knight c3, c takes, knight takes, and Svidler plays e6. And of course, there are lots of here kind of moves, developing moves, etc. But e6 makes sense, so that after knight takes f6, he can take with the queen and does not damage his pawn structure. Now white castles, and Svidler plays bishop c5. A natural looking move, but surprisingly, he said in the press conference, this, well, as natural as it may look, it deserves one or even maybe two question marks, being kind of a bad move. I don't know why, but there it goes. Here bishop d2, quite interesting. Svidler didn't want to take the pawn on b2. Let us see what happened there. Queen takes b2. Well, it seems that white has compensation, but it's really not a clear one, and it's difficult for me to find out what's going on, because, well, we're going to just follow more or less what the engine says and try to find out what happens, but position is a little complicated. The move suggested is knight d4, and now we have the possibilities of knight b5, for instance, trying to get in through c7, And also we have sometimes a check on h5, although black has his g6. So okay, say queen a3, the queen tries to get out of there. Now knight b5 is a possibility, attacking the queen. Queen a4, attacking the bishop. And for instance, now knight c7 is not correct at all. It's a blunder, in fact, because after king e7, if white just takes on a8, queen takes c4, and if knight goes back to c7, now bishop d6, this knight is having a tough time to go back and will be hunted. So, well, not so easy for white to win the initiative with simple moves. Instead, it is suggested here to play queen h5 check, and after g6 play queen h4, protecting the bishop. Also having a look at these dark squares, which are really weak on the king side, on black's king side. And for instance, here black cannot be greedy and take the second pawn on c2, because queen f6 immediately is very strong, attacking the rook on the corner, and in fact the natural looking move rook f8 is being punished in a very beautiful way. Knight c7 is checkmate. So, well, these were a couple of possibilities if on the 10th move Svidler with black pieces had taken on b2, but he didn't. Instead he plays knight c6, developing a piece. Now bishop c3, attacking the queen, queen e7 and a3. Maybe to try to go to b4 and grab lots of space on the queen side, just annoy a little bit this bishop here and there. Well, he avoids that, black avoids that with a5. Now queen a2, black castles, rook a d1, some natural looking moves, and well, black can play d5. He has strong looking pawns on the light squares in the center. Bishop b5 decided to play Kramnik. Knight a7, a couple of here and there moves trying to exchange pieces on the queen side will happen. Kramnik plays a4. Bishop goes back to d6, and now bishop a6. Kramnik is trying to exchange that piece. Well, if takes, now the pawn is under attack, and rook fb8 maybe. And well, may seem that black is little bit lacking a little space, but his central pawns are looking good, so this should be reasonably balanced, but interesting position. Well, instead, after bishop a6, knight c6 played by Svidler, and finally they exchange the pieces on b7. Now b3, queen a6, black is willing to exchange queens. Not yet. Kramnik goes to d2, and really black stands really okay in my opinion. He has healthy central control. I mean, okay, e6 could be a weakness at some point, but not really that accessible for white to attack. And he has quite a good coordination. The problem for white is that he doesn't have many open files for his rooks, for instance. They are not very active. The knight is not the biggest piece in the chess history either, so, well, pretty much balanced, I guess. Rook ac8, putting the rook in open files. c2 may be potentially weak, but now knight g5 attacking e6, so rook c e8. Why this rook? Well, rook f8 was also possible, but Svidler considers that the rook on f will be maybe important, as all of Dutch defense players should do. This rook may be important on the f file for some counter-attacking purposes. Now bishop goes back to b2, h6, chasing that knight to knight f3, and bishop b4, attacking the queen, c3, and going back, arguing that you've now white's bishop on b2 is much worse piece. Yes, but now Kramnik plays c4, take his chance to attack black's central pawn on d5. Well, why not bishop b4 once again? Certainly not a blunder, but queen d3, and well, now there is no more attack on the dark squares, and after some exchanges the d5 pawn may be vulnerable to attacks here. So after c4 he takes Svidler takes on c4, rook c1, not taking yet, taking advantage of this pin on the c file. b5, a takes, queen takes, and finally Kramnik takes the pawn back on c4 with the rook. Well, taking with the pawn was, I guess, also possible. Say queen a6. Now both players have passed pawns, and well, interesting as well. Rook takes c4, I guess this way is rook more active on the open file. Knight b4, a little bit of maneuvering game here. Knight e5, a couple of squares available, trying to look for something. Well, rook fc1 was once again looking natural, taking control of the c file, but black has the control of the d file, so he could try rook d8. And if queen c3, of course, white could try this trick, but bishop f6 is forcing the exchange of bishops basically, and I'm not sure who's better here. But okay, knight e5 was played by Kramnik. So knight d5, a little bit of maneuvering as I said. Queen c2. Now bishop goes to d6. And a crucial moment, knight c6, knight b6. Attacking the rook on c4. And well, the position may seem trivial, but it seems it isn't, because there are lots of traps here, as we were going to see in the game, and unfortunately for Kramnik, he's going to suffer it in his bones, in his own skin. The correct move here, it seems, was knight d4 with some intermediate moves, attacking the queen. So it's suggested to play queen e5, attacking h2. Now double attack with the bishop and the knight against the queen, and defending the checkmate as well. And then after queen b5, the rook could go, for instance, to c3. And for instance, if bishop b4, the rook could go to c7, attacking at the same time g7. So, well, complicated game now. But instead, after knight b6, Kramnik blunders. You can't define it in any other way. Rook d4 he plays. May seem natural looking, you're attacking the bishop, but there is a little tactical sequence here. Pretty basic, we may say. Bishop takes h2 check, and well, if you don't take it, what else? King takes h2, and now the rook on f1 is hanging, so queen takes f1. As they say, men can also cry, and GMs can also blunder, so there is still hope for patzers like me, seeing also GMs blundering. Of course, you're not happy seeing a former world champion missing this simple tactic, but okay. As Kramnik himself said in the press conference, he was tired probably, so you can explain it that way. At this point, all black has to do is just avoid tactical tricks, blundering himself, and the material advantage will be more than enough to win the game. So white plays queen c3. Kramnik is in desperation mode, trying to create something critical against black king immediately. The big diagonal is there. But really, it must be frustrating and miserable to have blundered more than once in this tournament, being Kramnik here, and having lost several games, so in what was probably his last chance for another World Championship match. It's a pity. Rook f6, blocking that danger, and also having the possibility, for instance, to rook g6, attacking g2. So knight e5, stopping that possibility, well, centralizing the knight. Now queen takes f2. Rook f4, attacking the queen goes to e2, and Kramnik plays queen d4, but still, there is very little hope here. Black just must be a little bit solid, and if a couple of pieces are exchanged, this is over. Knight d5, rook goes to f3, some desperate ideas to go rook g3, attacks on g7, combining with this long diagonal. Now rook c8, very interesting. And after rook g3, well, the commentators Peter Heine Nielsen and Victoria Smilita were suggesting rook c2, which is in fact maybe winning again. You're attacking b2, you're attacking in some way g2 as well. So well, there must be lots of ways of winning this for black, but Svidler chose probably the fastest one, f4, attacking g3, attacking e3. The rook is getting a lot of potential here. The knight is a strong piece. I mean, there is nothing white can do, and after 39 moves without even making the time control, Kramnik decided to resign, and now he's absolutely out of chances of winning the tournament. And well, really a sad tournament for Vlad Kramnik. He won a couple of games, but then he lost miserably a couple of ones. So now he has practically no chances to win the tournament, which is not the case for Peter Svidler. He's just a point and a half behind Anand. So well, everything could happen. A couple of games still to be played. Thanks.